Hey there, my name is Daniela Marin and I am a licensed therapist. I have been providing mental health services for the last 6 years. I'm going to be sharing with you mental health tips, answering all of your questions about mental health, and especially sharing all of my clients' favorite therapy techniques so you can also learn how to turn suffering into meaning and improve your personal development. Today, I want to answer a question that I get asked a lot, and that is, why go to therapy? Why is it important? Do only people that are crazy go to therapy? Can I go to therapy if I'm not crazy? Well, starting with the word crazy. Crazy is someone that has problems with insanity. That's the key word, right? Someone who is insane is someone whose behaviors, patterns, attitudes are a bit out of the norm, out of what you can see on the streets. Someone who's insane may seem like someone who's doing something that it's like a violation to our society norms. There are trained clinicians that treat people with insanity. I'm not one of them, and many therapists aren't. This is a very specialized treatment. So it's a myth that only people that are crazy go to therapy, because your average therapist probably won't be well equipped to work with someone that's crazy. This type of people are seen at a higher level of care, and they probably need more than one person to take care of them. So with this information, I really hope that you can stay away from that stigma that only crazy people go to therapy and you can only go to therapy if you're crazy. That's not true. Is it important to go to therapy? Absolutely. Why go to therapy? Well, that's why we're here today. I'm going to tell you a few reasons why I go to therapy. Let's start with some reasons that are negative. If you have a problem that is affecting you in more than one area in your life. So let's say that you're having issues with your partner, and because of that you're having trouble sleeping, you're not feeding yourself well, you're eating too much or too little, you are not being functional at work, you're not being sociable and kind to your friends, you are cranky overall, your life is crumbling. Well, that sounds like too many problems to deal with on your own. That's why a therapist will come in handy. Another reason why it's important that you go to therapy if a problem is affecting you in more than one area in your life, it's because it can now be a bigger problem. It may not be just your partner and the arguments that you had. You may be struggling maybe with a clinical issue, or overall your life and your functioning is declining, which is a red flag for us humans, because if you're used to doing all of these things and your level of functionality is up here, but because you're having this issue, now your level of functionality is down here, well, you need to find help. So does that mean that if you have just one problem that's really not affecting the rest of your life, you shouldn't go to therapy? Well, it's up to you. I would say that that's probably the best time to go to therapy. Why? Because if you are having those issues with your partner or issues with concentration that are still manageable, well, it's great, because if you come to therapy, you're going to talk about strategies that you can put into place, and it's going to be easier for you to do those things that you talk about in therapy, because your whole body, mind, and soul, it's in a good place. So you are still functional, and now your therapy investment may be shorter and even cheaper, because you're gonna go in there, get your tools, and go back to your life. In my opinion, it's best you go to therapy before things get too bad. Nonetheless, it's necessary to go to therapy when things are really bad. If you are presenting mental health symptoms that are related to a mental disorder, so let's say that you find yourself being very egotistical and self-centered, could that be a sign of narcissism? Or you're overly dependent and you have really bad attachment styles in relationships. Do you have a personality disorder? Or you're blue and low all the time, having crying spells, not knowing why, not having energy or motivation to do anything. Are you going through depression? You're extremely preoccupied all the time, your heart races, you feel like you can't stop thinking, you can't sleep. Do you have anxiety? All of these symptoms are important that you explore them with a professional. Now, I always encourage my clients to engage in self-introspection and self-discovery. If you do a body scan of your body, your mind, your emotions, and you research things, you read, you get to know yourself more. Nonetheless, for an official diagnosis or to really explore a formal diagnosis, it's best you do it with the help of a professional. If you're not trained for these things, you're gonna get confused, overwhelmed. It's a heavy load to carry. A diagnosis is a heavy load to carry, and you don't have to do it alone. So if you want to explore mental disorders, mental health symptoms that are pretty negative, find a professional to help you. Consistent relationship problems. Another big reason why a lot of people come to therapy, and something I recommend doing if you are going through this. Reason number one, in some cases, some people are not really insightful. They're not self-aware, they're not mindful of their behavior and their attitudes. Therefore, they may be unaware of their flaws, their weaknesses, their shadow, and that doesn't mean that other people can't see it. So if you find yourself having a lot of interpersonal issues, not only with a partner, with a romantic partner, but with everyone around you, co-workers, family members, you call it, well, maybe that's a red flag that you need to work on yourself at a deeper level in a way that you can't do alone. Besides, in therapy, you can learn great communication skills, ways to treat people. You can help yourself reduce social anxiety if that's the problem. You can get many tools that are going to help you improve interpersonal relationships. Now, on the flip side, sometimes you are not the one at fault only or at all. In some cases, we are just surrounded by people that are very heavy, very negative, have a lot of trauma, a lot of issues, and our whole social circle, it's like a big bag of trash that they dump on us, and we're going crazy. We can't handle it anymore. So that's also a great time to come to therapy. In therapy, you can learn how to create your boundaries, establish your boundaries with those people in a comfortable way for you. You can also learn how to separate yourself from some of these people or end some relationships if that's what you need. But a therapist can really make that process way smoother for you. Definitely reach out if you're struggling with life-threatening thoughts. Sometimes they are intrusive thoughts, sometimes they're very real thoughts with a plan and intent. And examples of these thoughts can be suicidal thoughts, so desires or plans or thoughts around dying or ending your life. It could be surrounded self-harm, so wanting to cause physical harm in your body. It can also be related to engaging in risky behavior, so not necessarily inflicting pain in your body, but doing things that are self-destructive for your overall health. In other situations, people have thoughts about harming or hurting or ending the life of someone else. That also calls for a need for therapy. And I want to say that there's no shame whatsoever about this topic. More people than you think struggle with these type of thoughts. We are human beings, and I know that in our Western culture, we always like to think about positivism and what's great and what's good, and we put a big wall on whatever is negative and we avoid it, we repress it, we ignore it. But the truth is that we are both good and bad. Really, there shouldn't be any duality because all of these things are just one. The good and the bad is just one big chunk of stuff together that doesn't have to have any really label or connotation of positive or negative, but we're all of those things. All of us humans have thoughts about lust and greed and death and dying and morbid things. We think about these things, we see them in movies, they exist. So if you're having any type of morbid thoughts, a therapist can really help you. All of these professionals are trained to help you overcome and manage those thoughts so you don't have to suffer alone. Grief and loss, a very complex topic, something that probably no one taught you, because they didn't teach me how to deal with grief and loss. For that reason, there are many support groups that are even free that you can see online or in person. There are therapists or grieving counselors specifically that are great on helping you get through your grief in a healthy way. So if you're going through a loss, going to therapy could be really, really helpful. If you are ready to process your trauma, as adults, sometimes we feel triggered all the time, and we are responding with this emotional reactivity left and right. We know that there's something underneath that we should work on, but we really don't have the time or the mental capacity to do so on our own. A therapist can ask you the right questions and help you process this trauma with spectacular techniques that are out there like EMDR, ART, accelerated resolution therapy, which I've done and I think it's really, really great and it changed my life, narrative therapy, cognitive processing therapy, and many more techniques that can really help you soothe all of those anxieties and reactivity you're going through and take you towards a healing process for your trauma. I think this is one of the biggest acts of self-care you can do for yourself. Now let's talk about some positive reasons why I go to therapy. Starting with my absolute favorite, personal development. I love this area. It makes me feel so passionate because along the years I have really built really good techniques to help clients improve their self-actualization, their personal development, their self-individuation, however you want to call it. It exists, it's necessary, it's fantastic, it's the best work you'll ever do for yourself. This type of work focuses on self-esteem, on accepting yourself, becoming authentic, becoming more competent, confident, and also discovering your shadow, which is something that I love to work on, shadow work. I think that, as well as inner child work, ego work, inner critic work, mindfulness strategies, other self-introspective strategies are wonderful to help you discover who you really are, to help you dig into the parts of you that are unattended or disowned, and bring in all of that into your conscious being so you can become whole and complete and yourself. If you're interested in this work, therapy will be your best friend. Support and guidance. Not all of us grew up with spectacular role models that taught us how to get through life successfully. Therapy can be a wonderful resource to really help you unlearn things that you need to get rid of, things that no longer serve you, and learn new strategies to become the person you want to be and find success and fulfillment in your life. Life transitions, another big one and super important reason why I go to therapy. Change is always happening. Humans are always evolving. You really can't avoid it. Think about a plant, it's always changing. You've been changing since the moment you became a human being. Some life transitions are bigger than others, some are easier than others, and I believe that when they're big and when they're hard, you probably need some help. I'll tell you why. When you are going through a life transition, let's say you're changing jobs, you're changing careers, you're changing partners, abandoning a partner, getting into a new relationship, you're having a child, so many things can happen in your life that are big that you haven't done before, and that causes a lot of stress in your brain and in your physical body. And you know it, you have felt it. It's hard to sleep, you're thinking about it all the time, you're worrying about the worst thing that can happen, worst case scenario. Some days you feel hopeful and excited and joyful and great, but then it goes away when something happens. So these changes are a lot to handle on your own, and although you may have great people around you that are your social support, it's best that you do it with a therapist that's going to really dedicate you all of the time to think about things and talk about things and find tools and strategies so you can reduce your stress levels while you're going through this change. You are curious. What a great reason to go to therapy. We're curious human beings by nature. Aren't you curious about everything and all? About what Elon Musk is up to, about crypto, about what the neighbor's doing, about what your coworkers are saying, about your daughter's friends. Everything makes us feel curious. So why not get curious about the most wonderful thing in life, the most important thing in your life, the thing that you deal with every single day of your life? You. Well, not a thing, a person, but you know what I mean. But yes, you are the most wonderful thing in your life because you have to deal with yourself every day and you're the protagonist of your life. If you don't know yourself, who knows you? If you don't know what you like, what you want to do, who will? There's a quote by Socrates that I absolutely love and I live by, and it says, "An unexamined life is not worth living." I agree with that. Because really, if you go through your whole life on robot mode, not really knowing yourself and what you want to do and your purpose and who you are, then you're a robot. That's it. You're not really a human. So getting to know yourself, I believe, is the most fantastic investment you can do on yourself. Now, there is something that I think is a common denominator to really enhance your success in therapy and to not be discouraged about the work that you're doing in therapy. And that is about a match. A good match with a provider, it's the most important thing for you to thrive in therapy. If you feel like you can't connect with your therapist, that you don't really trust your therapist, that they're talking and you're like, not sure if I dig this, then it's time to keep looking. Don't give up. It's hard to find our perfect match. It takes some time. But when you do, when you find that collaborative relationship that flows really smoothly and really well, then you're going to see sparks and magic in your therapy sessions. If you think that there are more reasons to go to therapy, please let me know. If you're questioning one of my reasons, feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below. And if you want to know more about mental health, definitely let me know what you want to learn. I'm here for you because now I'm pregnant and unable to go on travel adventures like I was doing, so I'll be making more videos like this from now on. So I hope that you enjoyed this one and the ones that are coming up. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Ciao, ciao.